The palette is an excellent tool that will help you personalize your projects. It lets you import images, textures and landscapes so that your scene is increasingly realistic. In this tutorial, we will help you figure out the palette and explore its basic functions. In this example of a kitchen, we used the palette twice, once for the tiles on the floor and once for the image in the frame. The palette is a tool that allows you to convert images and textures into a photo format, which you can then use in your scenes. Let's first look at the image in the frame. Firstly, make sure that your image is a JPEG or BMP. It can be a photo taken with your telephone, your camera, or an image that you found on the internet. Save the image in the In Situ folder in your computer, and choose the subfolder Textures. Give a name to your image so that it is easy to find later on. Try and avoid names with lots of characters. Then, in the software, open up the palette. You can do this with the shortcut or by going to the Setup drop-down menu, then Graphic, and then finally, Palette. Let's figure out the first column of this new window together. Click on Add to add your image to the palette. In the first column, there is a code linked to your image, each code being unique. Follow the order of the lines for ease of use. In the second column, you can name your texture or image. This name will crop up again when you attribute your texture to an object, so make sure to choose a very specific name. We shall ignore the third column for now, as it is useless for images. Double-click on the fourth column. By default, you will be brought to where you saved your image, and select it. In the next two columns, you can set the width and height of the image. If you're inserting the image into a support, such as a window, a door, a frame, or a board, etc., we advise entering 0 and 0. This will automatically adapt the image to the dimensions of the support. Careful! As we will see later on, this technique doesn't work for tiles, for example. These settings are more than enough using of the palette. The other columns are used for creating objects. Click on Incorporate to integrate your texture to your palette, then click on Save and close the window. Your image is now permanently saved in the textures. You can use it whenever you like. To use it in our frame, choose a frame you like and make sure that it has a free colour scheme. In other words, make sure you can modify the colours. Here we chose a frame from the catalogue Cadres and Table, Frames and Paintings. By selecting the frame, right-click on it and click on Finishes, we can choose the famous free colours. Now we can go to the object's attributes, right-click and then select Attributes. Click on Modify as you would to change the texture and or colour of a wall for example, and retrieve your palette, which is at the bottom of the textures. Select it, the image will appear on the left. Validate until the windows are closed and see the result in 3D. You can also use this method to insert an image behind a window for example. Next, let's see how to use the palette for tiles. Once again, we picked a photo from the internet. A handy tip is to include the word textures in your internet searches. For example, we searched up cement tiles texture, which gives us results that are clean and delineated. The procedure for saving the image is the exact same as previously. The difference with tiles is the dimensions to enter while saving it in the palette. Here, it is recommended to enter the tile's real dimensions. For a panel, it is best to enter the dimensions as closely as possible to reality too. This will avoid any clunky cuts in the visual representation. Finally, to integrate this image into the tiles, we recommend using one of our tile catalogues, and make sure to use a free finish, also called the colour, then in various chapters, pick one entitled Uni to colour in. In our example, we use the catalogue at non-numbered tiles. Click on a tile to select it, then right-click and choose Attributes. Colour 1 is the colour of the joint, and Colour 2 is the colour of the tile itself. Here you can choose the image that you saved in the palette. Before finishing, don't forget to choose the option Copy Style to All, so that it applies to all the tiles. If we take a look at the final result in 3D, our image is perfectly applied to all the different tiles. For textures such as parquet flooring, for example, we recommend finding textures in websites dedicated to them, such as SketchUp Textures Club, and using them. This will allow you to choose what are called mappable images, which can easily be mapped to your project.